I'm going to discuss with you the 20 ingredients in baking. So first is the dry yeast. Dry yeast is the original all-natural yeast that has been used by generation of bread bakers. Active dry yeast provides ultimate baking activity in all yeast doughs, from low sugar to high sweetened breads. Next is the shortening. Shortening is traditionally used in pastries such as cookies, pie, crusts, cakes, or frosting. It's also frequently used for frying because it has a high melting point and it's more heat stable than oil. Then the third one is the cornstarch. Cornstarch, it is a terrific ingredient for thickening puddings, soups, and pie fillings, and is also used in many baked good ingredients. When added to cake, cookie, and shortbread recipes, cornstarch helps create a crumbly and tender dessert-like texture. Commercially, cornstarch is often used as an anti-caking agent. Next is the baking powder. Baking powder is used to increase the volume of light and lighten the texture of baked goods. It works by releasing carbon dioxide gas into a butter or dough through an acid-base reaction. This can cause bubbles in the wet mixture to expand and thus leaving the mixture. Next is the baking soda. Baking soda is a leavening agent used in baking goods like cakes, muffins, and cookies. Baking soda becomes activated when it comes to combined with both an acidic ingredient and a liquid. Next is the yeast. Yeast is also an important ingredient in baking because this is the ingredient that helps to expand a dough, and also this is ingredients that will make your bread smoother. Next is the leaving agent. Leaving agents will help to expand the dough. This will release gases within mixture, producing baked products with porous structures such as agents include air, steam, yeast, baking powder, and baking soda. Next is the egg. Egg is one of the important ingredients when you are baking something because this will also helps to make your bread smoothed. This also adds structure and strength to baked goods because whole eggs contain so much water content that they also help with the leavening. Next is the liquid. Liquid are necessary in baked goods for hydrating protein, starch, and leavening agents. Liquids contribute moistness to the texture and improve the mouthfeel of baked products. Next is milk. Milk. In baking, we should put milk because this will help the bread more softer and this is also gives a good taste to the bread. The bread will make it more delicious. Next is the fat or butter. Fat or butter is a solid fat that has a fat percentage about 75%. It is also known to give great results in baking. When beaten as sugar, it can hold and retain air bubbles which make it perfect for baking light and fluffy cakes and bakes. Next is the salt. Salt has also a big role in baking because this will help to balance the taste of the bread or a dough. Next is the sugar. Sugar is one of the most important ingredients in baking because this will help to increase the sweetness and tenderness of a bread or a cake. Next is the alternative flour. Alternatives flour is a different kinds of flour, a flour that are available for baking, like for example, for the pancakes, homemade bread, and other baked goods. Next is the whole wheat flour. Whole wheat flour wholemeal flour is a powdery substance, a basic food ingredient derived by grinding or mashing the whole grain of wheat, also known as the wheat berry. Next is the self-rising flour. Self-rising flour is a mixture that's made up of regular flour, baking powder, and salt. This flour is also used directly in cakes. This ensures the baked powder is distributed throughout the flour. You can also make your own combining, for example, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of fine salt. Then the next one is the all-purpose flour. The all-purpose flour is most common flour. This can be used in many different kinds of breads. This sits also between bread and cake or the pastry flour. This flour has 10.5% protein. This is mostly used in baking brownies, pancakes, cupcakes, and more. Next is the cake and pastry flour. These two kinds of flour aren't exactly the same. They are both fine textured soft flours with a low protein content. Cake flour has lower protein content compared to the pastry flour. Pastry flour has a higher percent of protein. Next is the bread flour. Bread flour is milled from hard spring wheat, which has a higher protein content than the hard winter wheat used in all-purpose flour. Protein adds strength to dough and enables loaves of bread rise high. And also, this creates strong web of gluten that leads to a soft, floppy texture of a bread. Last is the flour. Flour is made by grinding raw grains, roots, beans, nuts, or seeds. This is the most important ingredients in baking because this is the one who gives form and structure to the baked product. This will help provide texture and nutritional content. The two examples of baking ingredients that I chose are the flour and milk. So flour, the real reason flour is so vital in baking world is because of the stringy protein that forms when wheat and water mix, otherwise known as gluten. I know nowadays saying the word gluten is almost as bad as shouting fire in a movie theater, but gluten is actually your friend when it comes to baking. Next is the milk. The purpose of the milk in baking is varied and may depend on what you're baking. Milk serves as a source of liquid to hydrate the dry ingredients, adds flavors, supports browning, and softens texture. That's all, thank you.